that's what we're here for, Rise Design, designing health and well-being. So I'm from RTC, but I run Design Network North, which has been around since about 2008. And it is a community, I guess, of people, businesses, organizations who are interested in design, either because they are a designer themselves, or because they work with designers or want to work with designers, or they're just curious about what design actually means. And hopefully we help them to find some answers to that. And so on a Friday morning, once a month, as I say, for the last 15 years or something, we've been holding these Rise and Design events. And today we're focusing on health and well-being. So the thing I love about it, I don't know how many of you started using AI, but one of the things I love about it is that it can be quite difficult to find an image, a royalty-free image for the events and things that we put on. And I always like or prefer interesting images. And it's quite hard to find them until AI came along. So I went on to, I can't remember which one it was, and said, right, can you create me a picture of a robot doing yoga in the Yorkshire Dales? And there we go. So that's the theme of today's event. I did do another one. There was a few options came up. That was the other one, which I thought was also pretty cool. So if anyone hasn't used AI, either ChatGPT or the various image creation websites, they're really good and can save you a lot of time and save you getting kind of pulled up for using copyright images. So just a little pointer from me. Have a go if you haven't already. So as I said, we're Design Network North. You are all now part of Design Network North, whether you like it or not. And that's what we believe. Great design can improve any product, service, or business. And really our job, our role is to help make that a reality, if it isn't already, or even more of a reality for you, if it already is. Thereby increasing the contribution that design makes to the economy. That's what it's all about. And that's design in any of its many guises. So in the 15 years or so that we've been running these Rise and Design events, we've had about 7,500 people have come along to hear some amazing stories from over 3,000 different businesses. We've enjoyed hearing from nearly 500 speakers who've shared their stories, shared their expertise, inspired us, educated us, entertained us, as is going to happen this morning, I'm sure. Sadly, I shouldn't have put that picture up, should I? Because we'd all have just enjoyed a bacon sandwich and a cup of coffee. You may have, but it wasn't courtesy of me. So next time we're together, we can help to get that number over the 7,000 mark, which would be quite a milestone, I think. 7,000 bacon sandwiches. But these are, even on Zoom, these are really good ways to meet new people, to share ideas, to share an issue that you might have, or just your contact details for future use. It's a really good way to learn new things, and not just from the people who are going to be sharing their amazing stories with us. It could be from the person that you connect with. So I would encourage you to, even in this format, connect and meet and chat with as many people as you can. But we really hope you take something away with you today, that you learn something, that you're inspired by something, you meet someone new, and that it makes a difference. That's really what these are about, as well as being, hopefully, a pleasant way to spend a couple of hours on a Friday. So as usual, we have some three people who are going to share their story, share their expertise, share some inspiring stuff with us. I'll then just give you a few things that are going on that you might be interested in. But then throughout that, there'll be opportunities to do some networking. So I'm delighted that we have Liz from the University of Huddersfield, who's going to be talking about some amazing stuff they've got happening over the next few years. Peter from Orchard House Designs, who's going to be talking about some products that he's been working on, and tell us the story of how they came about and what the future holds. And similarly, Michael is going to be talking about the product he's been developing and creating over the last few years, and what that journey looked like, and also how what's coming in the future for that. And yeah, and then as I say, as well as that, we have lots of time for networking.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks, Liz. So we'll come back to Liz shortly. And now I'm delighted to welcome Michael, who's going to tell us all about the product that he's been working on for a number of years. I don't know the answer to that, so I'm just going to say a number of, and that's why Michael's
A
here,
number of is fine. Yeah.
because he's going to tell us all the details. So I'll just put you on spotlight. There we go. So Michael, over to you.
So is mine sharing?
It is, yes, yes,
All
yours
right.
is fine.
Great. 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 Yeah. Thanks, Terry. So what I'm going to talk to you about this morning is our business philosophy, which is wellness by design. A little bit about my personal background and my experiences in wellness, and then how those have helped me inform the design process around the products that we make. Um, so I'm not really sure why I always include this giant photograph of myself on the first slide of presentations because you can see my face already. Um, but I have lived experience of generalized anxiety disorder, which is great fun. Anyone who knows anyone with it, it sort of never really goes away. It's a kind of it's a mental health condition that kind of you learn to live with rather than recover from. Um, I'm also a design engineer. I studied at the University of Huddersfield under Chris Howard. I don't know if Chris Howard's still there. I did product design engineering. I am also an ex-teacher. I've had a bit of a squiggly career. Ex-teacher and vice principal. And now I am a health tech founder. So as I said, I'm going to talk a little bit about my journey. I believe that good design is informed by experience and is there to solve a problem for somebody. Um, so the reason I'm going to share that part of my story is so that we can get behind the insights and the real understanding of the problem that we're designed to solve. So that's me 20 years ago. I have the same amount of hair now. It's just migrated down my head. Um, there were a few people out there who can relate, I think, to that. Um, I look pretty happy in this photograph. I'll be honest, I don't remember exactly how I felt on that day, but I can take a fair guess that it was pretty anxious. I got very good at smiling through it. But this was on the fourth year of my, well, obviously, this is my graduation after 4 years at university doing product design. These are the labels that I was were applied to me, shall we say, when I was at university, which was when really the wheels came off for me. Um, there's a good selection there. Generalized anxiety disorder is the one that's the headline, really. But what happened was years and years of unmanaged anxiety that started when I was a child. My As a family, we lost our dad quite young, and it was the 80s. So we were given a week off school with Sesame Street and then sent back in. So that manifested as anxiety for a long time in my life, and I'd never really learned how to manage it. So then, outside of the safety of the home environment at university, lots of new pressures, lots of new places, and honestly, it just sort of came apart around the second year of university, and I had no understanding of what was happening, no skills in particular, or tools to help me manage how I was feeling. And it was all completely alien to me and to be honest, quite frightening. Um, so first AI generated image for you there, Terry. The the question that I had to ask myself at the time was why did I fall so hard? I'd always felt like I'd coped pretty well. So what was missing? And this was the engineer in my head, kind of kicking in and going, look, there's a problem here. I've got to try and figure out how to solve it. What is it I don't know? What am I missing? Um, that may help me in this situation. And this is more of a retrospective question, but why, looking back, did I ignore some of the really good advice around wellness that was being offered to me from multiple sources, including the doctors at the university? Um, so anyone who knows somebody who's had mental health, sort of a mental health collapse, or they tend to call them breakdowns, is it can be quite a long journey back, and it involves a lot of growth and a lot of learning. So what did I learn? Well, the things that were being given to me as solutions at the time, other than the sort of obvious with the therapy and they often offer you medication, but breath work and breathing exercises and mindfulness came up again and again and again and again, and I ignored them again and again and again because at the time my designer brain, my engineer brain, the scientist in me just couldn't accept them as real solutions. It wasn't really presented to me in that way. And what eventually changed was I met a psychiatric nurse that just kind of got me and got how I thought. And instead of just saying, Michael, you should do this, it'll work, or Michael, you should do this, it really helps. He started sending me peer-reviewed journals on the evidence behind why it worked and books to read about the neuroscience of the mind-body link and how our minds affect how we think and feel. And that changed my life really. And those new skills and that new um, knowledge really, really turned things around for me. And it became something that I like to share with other people. So knowing all these things doesn't mean that I don't fall, as it were, but it does give you a safety net and a parachute, which means you don't fall as hard, you don't fall as far, and it's a lot less painful when you do. And also, more importantly, you don't worry so much about falling because you know you're fine when it happens. So, how does that inform design? So, for me, the problems that we understand the best are the ones that we experience daily and the ones that we've lived through ourselves. And that was certainly something I did for a long time. And to design well, I think we need to first define the problem that we're designing to solve, and then gain all the knowledge and experience that we'll need in order to put together the best solution we can. So, as I said already, one of the big discoveries for me was being given this fresh outlook on mindfulness and this fresh viewpoint for breath work. In the past, I'd always thought about it as um, something linked to spirituality or religion, and those were things that I decided at a young age weren't for me, and I just blanket said no to them because they were linked in a way that I didn't enjoy, and them being decoupled was the big turning point for me. Breathwork, mindfulness have been around for thousands and thousands of years. Um, you can see them all over all types of religion and culture all around the world, discovered independently by different cultures that couldn't communicate with each other at that time. And they've all developed techniques that involve breath work as a way of regulating, calming, and feeling centered. Now we people still do them, but we now have the technology and we now have the um, research to show why that really works. And I just want to share a little bit. I did mention I'm an ex-teacher, so I apologize now for this sort of mini science lesson. I'm going to jam in the middle, but I think it does really help people understand where we went with the design process. So I think some people are, no, I'm going to say everybody who's on the call will be familiar with um, that jolt, that feeling that you get in your stomach or in your chest when something happens that you're not expecting or you feel under threat. Liz probably experienced it when she couldn't share her slides. Terry was probably feeling it when he was trying to find the link. Like there aren't too many, it doesn't need to be too much of a thing to get that little jolt and that feeling. We've all had it. Um, and the truth of it is, it's very, very straightforward what that is and what's happening in your body. The same as and it shouldn't be a mystery, and that's what this learning I think helps people with. So most people will have heard of the fight or flight reflex, or many people will have. Um, and what this is a part of our nervous system that all animals have. that readies our body for action. And it's out of date, it's old, it's legacy software, really. It's things that don't really work for us in the modern age. If you feel under threat, sorry, so straight, it could be an email from your boss, it could be running late for something, it could be anything that makes you feel under threat. There's a part of your brain that deals with that, that's more or less outside of your conscious control. And what it does is it triggers what it thinks is a helpful reaction. So it increases your heart rate, it increases blood flow to muscles, it takes blood flow away from your digestive system, which is why you feel sick when you're anxious or nervous. And it decreases blood flow in parts of the brain that are useful for rational thinking, because you don't really need to think rationally if you've got to run away or fight, which is when these reflexes were developed. The opposite side of that part of our nervous system does the opposite. It allows us to think clearly. It relaxes us. It reduces our breathing and our heart rate, releases endorphins, and they really are like a balancing act. These two parts of what's called the parasympathetic nervous system, or sorry, part of the CNS. So how do we stop this? So one way of doing it is an exercise known as box breathing. Some people will be familiar, some people won't. But what we have as a unique ability as humans, we're the only animal in the animal kingdom that can do this, is we can consciously override our breathing. So every other animal just breathes at the rate that that part of their brain decides. We can choose to hold our breath now. Everybody in here could take a deep breath and stop, and then choose when to breathe out. And that is a very important skill, because what it allows us to do is feed back up the system that we're calm, and give the all clear to our brain that actually the threat isn't imminent danger that's going to cause us some serious harm, and we don't need all of these changes in our body. So box breathing is reducing your breathing rate and increasing the depth of breath. So you would breathe in for 4 seconds, and you would hold for 4 seconds, breathe out for 4 seconds, and wait for 4 seconds. And you do this over a number of minutes, 3 to 5 minutes. And what it does is calm down your nervous system. And I would invite everybody to try this after the call today. You can do it yourself at home. But actually, it's quite easy to get distracted when you're trying to do it, especially if you're already busy. So what I tried to do multiple times at myself, and when I was a teacher, and when I've tried to share these techniques, is direct people to solutions. And then when I looked to design something for this, I did research on solutions, and all roads lead to your phone. Like, it's, oh, I'm going to get a mindfulness app, or I'm going to get something to guide me. Oh, it's on my phone. And I think some people can probably relate to this image, but if you pick up your phone to do something, your phone is now the thing you are doing. It's got a list of notifications that are designed to take your attention away. And the techniques, this technique and the techniques around mindfulness are the opposite of that. They're about being in the moment, being focused on one thing, and not being distracted. So all of that learning from the lived experience, and then sharing that and teaching it when I was working in education. As I left education, I realized we need better solutions for these things. This is something that can help a lot of people, and it's something that obviously there is a demand for. And I didn't believe that apps were the right solution for that, having tried them myself and offered them to others. So going back to what I said at the beginning, when you're designing, I think you have to define the problem and define what you want that solution to be before you start with the process. So I think that means deciding what it should be and deciding what it shouldn't be. So accessibility was one of the main things that decided needed to be included in the design. As I said at the beginning, I rejected a lot of those things because I felt there was a lot of baggage that came with them, and we decided we definitely want this solution to be something that can be approached by anybody. It could be it'll be language free. It won't rely on on an understanding or knowledge, it can just be easy to follow. It needs proximity, which means it needs to be close to hand when you need it or when you feel like doing it. Anyone who's tried to start a new habit or something healthy will understand that actually the cue is the hard part and getting going with something is difficult. And it needed flexibility or adaptability, meaning that it could be used in multiple different ways that suit different people's lifestyles. What it needed to not be was distracting, had to be distraction free. And it also needed to offer no judgment. Again, this is something that we learned from studying all of the mindfulness and wellness apps that were out there. They're designed to get you to continue using the app. And the way they do that is through effectively reward and punishment. So you'll have streaks that reset because you didn't do something on a particular day. And there's lots of research to show that actually that's not the best way to motivate people to do things. So all of that fed into a design process that I did myself and alongside people who were at the talk last time will have met Richard Hall. Richard Hall, who runs PDM. Their team at PDM were very helpful in that process as well. And the solution that we came up with from that design process and those initial design principles based in that experience was our first product, Luma Premium. And it meets all of those design criteria. It's accessible, it's easy to use, it's nearby, it can be in the office, it can be at work, on your desk, it could be at home. And it works in multiple different environments. We've got people using them in therapy environments, we've got people using them in dentistry waiting rooms, in schools, in hospitals. And I think it's beautiful design. I think I'm allowed to say that about myself or about the design. Am I allowed to say that, Terry? I've said it. Because form follows function, obviously, is the mantra that we go with in design, and it has to meet what it's required to do. But it also, if you're going to have it in your home, needs to look really good. So that's the story about where I think when we're designing for wellness, we need to start. We need to start in if we don't have it ourselves, lived experience, or sorry, if we do have it ourselves, lived experience, but if not, going out and talking to people that need solutions for their wellness and finding out what works, what doesn't work, and then using those as the founding principles of how we go through the design process. So that's everything from me, Terry. And then if there are any questions, then I'm happy to answer them.
Thanks for that, Michael. And yes, you are most certainly allowed to say that is a beautiful thing. If you could, there we go. Right. Brilliant. Thanks for that. I think it's a while since we've done this, but rather than a round of applause, what we do on Zoom is jazz hands. So jazz hands, everyone, to show your appreciation. Otherwise, it gets really noisy when everyone's clapping. Thanks for that,
guys.
Michael. That was brilliant. Does anyone have any questions about the process, about what comes next, or anything really, or any observations they'd like to make?
Must have answered everything.
Well,
good presentation, Terry.
either that or you've bamboozled everyone.
Yeah, maybe it could be
in a good way, which does sometimes happen.
I think there might be a question in the chat.
Oh, right. Sorry, I should be modifying. So yeah, someone asking how could this be applied in the construction industry? Can you see any whoever posted that, are you able to give us a bit more kind of context to that? Is that in terms of particular issues in the construction sector around stress and anxiety and the things that it addresses?
I mean, interestingly, when I was a teacher, construction was the subject that I taught. And so I think I can answer that question, or I can infer a meaning and then answer what suits me, I guess.
Okay.
It can, in terms of contracts work on-site, meeting deadlines, we are commercial developers and investors. Working on site, yeah. So
just the fact that it's a stressful industry to be in.
It is, and what I was going to go on to say, but obviously if you're the on-site team rather than the sort of builders, it can be quite male dominated and not in the best way environment in a lot of ways. Having met an awful lot of people working in construction when I was a teacher. But yeah, it is a stressful environment. The product itself is designed to be portable, so it can go wherever it is that you want to take it with. And what's coming next is we're developing a mobile version of this, which isn't going to work very well on Zoom there. Um, but the purpose is that this can fit in at any moment. If you're working in a stressful environment, regulating your nervous system by doing 3 minutes of breathing exercises, and it just needs to be breathing. There's nothing else that necessarily has to be attached to that. Will calm down your nervous system, will make you think more clearly, will increase your focus, reduce your stress. That's for the short term. And then long term, it'll decrease the negative effects of chronic stress, which are heart disease and various other vascular problems and lots of mental health conditions that can develop as a condition of, or rather as a symptom of not managing those things. That hopefully answers the question. I don't know if it's specific to construction.
I guess well, I mean, because when you were talking there, Mike, I was thinking, well, actually, we all have stressful situations,
Yeah,
and yeah, we deal with them differently.
yeah.
So, would you suggest that, particularly for that mobile, the little handheld version that you showed us, would you suggest that actually, you know what, anyone could benefit from having one of those, even if it just means they're able to cope with a bad day
Yeah, I
better
mean,
than they
obviously,
would?
as an entrepreneur, I'm going to say everyone should have one. But yes, truthfully, I when I first learned breathing exercises, it feels once you know how to do them and become good at them, it feels like a video game cheat code. Like you've got this unfair advantage over people who aren't doing it. Like it's something that fits quite quickly into your day. It's easier to do when it's guided, but it can be done unguided, and it'll work before a meeting, after a meeting, as you arrive home. It's a stressful environment sometimes. It, right through people's lives, there's these moments of stress, and they're not a problem until they are. And learning those skills and making them a regular part of your day is really important and builds resilience to stress long term as well as fixing it short term for you. So yeah, I mean, everyone should buy a LumaCube. That would be my final statement on it. But if you don't buy a LumaCube, you should at least do some research on breathing exercises and the massive, massive effect they can have, positive effect they can have on your wellness, for sure.
Thanks, Mike. Tim, you made a point there in the chat about your experiences working in the construction sector. Is there anything you wanted to share about that?
Yeah, I can do. So we're a company that uses biometric data to objectively measure and improve workplace stress. So we've been working with a couple of construction clients, understanding at the coal face of the construction, so a lot of the subcontractors, and understanding and helping them to better manage their stress and their overall well-being. So I had some great results, both measuring the stress and understanding, helping them benchmark that, and then putting in place improvement programs, remeasuring. We've been able to improve reduce time in high stress for people, so I accurately measure that. Significant improvement in sleep. So working with Galliford Try, as a big construction group down in London, we were on their site, improved by sleep by over an hour, improve their physical and mental resilience. So we're able to actually objectively measure this and make those improvements, and actually get construction people talking better and opening up to each other. Well, opening up to us in terms of having that kind of meeting with them. So it worked really well in an industry that is beset by high rates of suicide and where there's kind of a general macho culture and it's kind of difficult to get people talking. We demonstrate real results, and yeah, Galliford Try now are hopefully going to roll this out to a lot more people, and even talking about mandating it for health and safety reasons. So yeah, positive results in construction.
So have you seen big changes in people's attitudes to talking about these things and making it kind of acceptable to talk about it?
Yeah, it's difficult at first. So when we kind of first went in there, we weren't certain that people, because for us, you have to wear a biometric device like this one I'm holding up here. You wear that for 7 days, and then at the end of that 7 days, you get your own dashboard of stress and resilience and sleep and activity. And then we have a one-to-one with you and talk through it. So we weren't sure whether the construction group of people were going to be receptive, but actually what we found was that once we got them into the program and got them in that one-to-one and talking, they actually became more open than most people. And actually I think that's because they don't often get that opportunity to kind of have that kind of talking and opening up to people. So yeah, we had some real very interesting conversation with lots of people, and they opened up significantly. We actually helped point people in the right direction for clinical support because there were a few people that needed additional support. So yeah, it was a definite sector that needs help. And on the back of that, we got another construction company that wants to work with us that we started working with. And then we have other organizations. So it's definitely a sector that needs help.
Can I ask you a question, Tim? If there's just a moment, do you think that because this is something we do quite a lot of research on, and I personally do a lot of thinking on, but do you think the data-driven approach to stress and wellness and the fact that you're doing a monitoring process and then you're bringing someone in to sort of discuss the results actually helps open that conversation up in a more accessible way? Is like, I use the word decoupling a lot, but you're kind of you're kind of looking at it in a quite an objective way, aren't you, and saying, look, this is the stress you experience. Now let's look at what we can do to reduce that. Oh, you're on mute, Tim.
Sorry, I'm on mute. The big thing for us is that combination of the human activity and the one-to-one combined with the high-tech data and the technology that we've got as well is the kind of perfect thing. Because one thing that we really kind of showcase is we ask people about their perception of stress and the things that they think cause them stress, and then we measure their reality, their physiological stress response. And those two things are often, well, always pretty much way out. So people's perception is not aligned with their physiology. And what we're finding that by presenting that data to people and having that initial conversation, it opens up the conversation where they can see they're perhaps not as stressed as they think they are, or they're more stressed than they think they are. And actually then helping them to kind of reframe and rethink and understand their stress better, and then put in place those improvement programs that might be around breathing exercises, it might be around sleeping better as a kind of classic thing to simply make those things better. So, and then re-measuring people, we can actually see the difference. So for us, it's that data-driven approach, but with the human interaction as well, that, you know, for us, it kind of feels like the perfect combination to help people to make change and open up.
Can I just ask a quick question on the back of that? Is that the device you showed us just there, it is collecting primary physical data on an individual. So you're using certain indicators to measure physical stress. But how do you then, I mean, the whole big issue, as Michael was talking about, is what it doesn't tell you is the mental.
Yeah.
So the physical indicators don't necessarily portray the mental stress that somebody's going under, mental health.
So that's
is there something you're doing around that?
Yeah, so we so in our app that we built, we built a unique stress algorithm to measure the physiological stress, so the physical signs of stress, and we've patent protected that. So we use multiple layers of biometric data to do that. But then on the other side of that, the psychological side of things, we're using the validated PSS, so the perceived stress scale, to understand their perception of stress, and also get them to keep a diary of things that they think cause them stress when they're under stress, and making notes and then rating their day. So we get scores on their and data on their perception and the things that they think cause them stress, and we compare that with their physiology, and that's where the real interest and the insight comes to that individual. Because when they see that they think they're stressed at work, it's kind of classic, I'm stressed at work, but actually 70% of people are more stressed at home than they are at work. It's kind of those, you can start to help people to better understand, and the better they understand the stress, the better they can deal with it. And your stress response is a perfectly natural thing that we all do, and actually can be really positive. Can be a really positive thing. But chronic stress is obviously really a negative thing. So it's helping people to better understand it so they can better manage it.
Yeah, very good. Very interesting. Very interesting. And Michael, I found myself doing the box breathing whilst you were talking. Actually, I don't know how many other people who were on the call whilst we were listening to you did that. But do you do it routinely now? You've done it so often. You do it without thinking almost.
Yeah, so like is the short answer. But it's a long process, which is why the products exist, is it's to help you
Yeah.
A, build evidence in your own head that it works, and B, form that relationship between I'm feeling a bit stressed. Oh wait, I know what I should do. It's that cue response habit forming.
Yeah.
You know, I
Yeah.
feel a bit hungry, I'll have a snack. I feel a bit stressed, I'll do some breathing.
Yeah.
And it takes a while to develop, but once you get there, it makes a huge difference. But that said, there are times when if I am quite heightened and quite high stress, that even after years and years and years of doing it, I do find I find it much easier with a guide, because you get distracted. Anyone who's tried meditation knows that meditation is really just battling away distractions and continually coming back to one thing, and it's the same with the breathing exercise. So but yeah, definitely do it routinely now, so much so that my wife reads it now as a signal, essentially. She'll be like, what's up? Nothing. But yeah, thanks for the questions, and thanks for those insights, Tim. It's really helpful. We've met before actually a couple of times, haven't we, and got into chats about this, but yeah.
Indeed,
Great.
Michael. Yeah, good to chat to you.
Thanks, Michael. And of course, the most important question is, now that you've convinced us all that we need one of these things, they are available on your website.
They are, and on Amazon, but don't buy them on Amazon because Amazon's expensive. Go direct to our website. So either search LumaCube. That's what the little 3 on our logo is. It felt like a clever thing at the start of the design process and has become a bit of a pain, if I'm honest. So if you just Google LumaCube or Luma 3, it's luma3.uk. And yeah, they are available on there. And the small one that I showed, that's in R&D. That's what we won the Innovate UK money to develop. That should be ready. I'm looking at Chantel actually at the bottom, who's my Innovate UK advisor.
Don't put any pressure on yourself, Michael, to give a date. We don't want to.
So yeah, thank you.
Well, I'll show you details in the email that goes out to everyone on
Thanks, Terry.
on Monday. Well, brilliant. Thanks for that. Right. So I think mine and Liz's stress levels are now rising slightly. Although I do have your slides, Liz. So
Okay.
should I just start sharing and then
Yep.
we'll
Yeah.
I do this when I'm stressed. I just it's not as effective, but right, let's go.
Okay.
There we go.
Yeah.
So I'll just put you on spotlight.
Okay.
Yes.
Right.
Over to you, Liz.
Thank you. Right. So this is the talk about the National Health Innovation Campus that I'm the lead for. If you go to the next slide, Terry, this is where I was. It's about really putting people's and individuals' health and well-being and the importance of that at the heart of place, partnership and prosperity. And really, it's about us as a university as well, recognising that we are an anchor institution in our local community, and that what we do on that campus will drive not just economic change. It's not just about throwing buildings up and putting, that has an impact clearly in terms of regeneration of the town and what have you. But it's really what goes on in those buildings, the importance of the activities driving social change. If you go to the next slide. Yeah, this is the heart of where I came from with the whole. I'm not expecting anybody to read the small print on this, but it's where I came to when I was developing the vision for the campus. So the university bought this 7 acres of land in the middle of Huddersfield at the back end of 2020. And at that point, they called it the National Health Innovation Campus. I had no say in what it was called. Pretty wrong name for it, really, because everybody thinks it's NHS. And the NHS are partners in it, but only amongst many others. But I got to thinking, I got asked to do a public lecture about it, about health innovation, actually. And what does digital mean in the future for the communities and people? And then in almost like a throwaway comment, the chair of the Civic Society said, "Oh, and can you tell us what's going to be on the Health Innovation Campus, please?" And I thought, oh, I don't know. I'm not going to stand up in front of 200 people and not know what the strategy and the vision for the campus is, but I could see one. And it's based on the fact that for my whole, well, pretty much the last 40 years of my 40 years, yeah, I'm 60, yeah, about that. 35 years maybe, definitely since as long as I've known Terry. So I've lived in an environment basically driven by the government's thoughts that business productivity and economic prosperity is driven by things like intellectual property exploitation, mega numbers of startup companies, high level skills, growth of businesses, and the way in the UK the government is siloed. That's been my world. I was a civil servant when I was at Daresbury, as Terry mentioned. Same philosophy. You know, we've got to get more IP. We've got to exploit this IP. We've got to get more higher level skills, more knowledge. Yeah. I got thinking about the campus, and because I've chaired Yorkshire University's groups and know what's going on in the region in West Yorkshire anyway. The university at Huddersfield was never going to have a medical school. We're not going to have a medical school. We're strong in allied health professions. But I wanted to do something on that campus that played to our strengths, but also augmented what else was going on in West Yorkshire. And to be honest, where I came at it was from putting people at the heart of it. And the two graphs on the right of this, the top one with the map of the UK is business productivity. And in Yorkshire and the Humber, that's 2019 data, but it hasn't changed. Business productivity is the lowest in England in our region. So it's in its boots. Shocking. The bottom graph with all the colours on it, in July 2022, the government carved up England into things called integrated care boards. So there are 42 of them. So West Yorkshire has its own integrated care board. And what they did, they mapped the deprivation in each of those 42 areas in the country. And what you can't see on that graph is that West Yorkshire is really at the top of the pile. It's the 5th most deprived region in England. South Yorkshire is the 4th, and Greater Manchester is the 3rd. So this whole geography around us, deprivation's massive, business productivity's in its boots. So for me, it wasn't rocket science that actually people are at the heart of that. So getting people healthy, well, happy, and wanting to be at work would be the single biggest impact on business productivity you could make, way above IP exploitation and high-level skills, because the cost to the UK economy per year in absenteeism, people drawing benefits, that is £150 billion a year. Now, when I put this presentation together, you'd have thought I'd landed from Mars a bit, but I managed to find the diagram on the left, which is from Public Health England, and it's a World Health Organization. It's something that's in a document, right, about linking workplaces and productivity to the economy. It's about happy people. It's obvious to me, but that's a policy document, and what we want to do on campus is turn it into a real dynamic living lab of action, of us as doing and delivering initiatives that improve people's health and well-being. And that was the vision, and that's where we've gone with it. And my word, it is flying. So if you carry on, next slide, please, Terry. Yeah, so it will give a step change in workforce transformation within the health services. It's about health inequalities and inclusion outcomes. The key to it all, though, is partnership working, because with all the best will in the world, a university, yes, we are an anchor institution, but we have to do it in partnership. And that is with the public sector, NHS, Department of Health and Social Care, etc., the local authorities. Third sector is very important in this as well, because many of the services that are required by the NHS are being passed over to social enterprises and charities. So third sector are key, but the people and the communities and are putting the lived experience at the heart of it is core. Industry is crucially important too. So it's and I absolutely hate the word, but I can't think of a better one. It is that ecosystem that is really critical to making this successful. That brings with it challenges, because being able to have conversations with all those different partners who've got different objectives is hard work. It's a real challenge, but it's really starting to take off, and it's growing. So next slide, please. So yeah, this is just showing you where Huddersfield is and the geography of it. Not only is the university investing, but the local authorities investing about $250 million into the town centre as well. And the Transpennine upgrade is going to be critical. So by 2028, when that's finished, we'll be 20 minutes from Manchester and 20 minutes from Leeds. So we'll be right in the middle of that axis. So, but equally, we're right in that high concentration of deprivation as well, and low business productivity. So if we can make it right and work in Huddersfield, I think you can do it anywhere. But anyway, go on, next slide. So all of this and the vision that we put together, or I've pushed on for the campus, has driven West Yorkshire Combined Authorities strategy with the government about investment zones. And I was very outspoken about the fact that I felt the theme for the West Yorkshire investment zone should be healthcare, because the amount of investment the university is putting into this is huge, and the local authority are way behind it as well. So the investment zone for West Yorkshire was announced about 6 weeks ago, maybe 2 months now, by the government, and that is 80 million over 5 years, but they're in principle funding it for 10 years. So that would be 160 million. It's got 3 geographic sites. So in Huddersfield, it's from the station to the stadium, and that's a corridor. And our campus, our health campus, is the major part of that corridor. It's a 7-acre plot on that site. In Leeds, it's for the Health Innovation Arc, linked to the Leeds Teaching Hospital. And in Bradford, I'm not quite sure the exact geographic location of it in Bradford, but they're the 3 centres. So yeah, it's got government recognition, and there's a lot happening and a lot of investment coming. So next one, please. So this is the campus. For those of you who know Huddersfield, as Michael does, If you walked from the station down Northumberland Street as if you were walking to the football stadium, you go past the media centre, get some traffic lights. Our campus is diagonally opposite at those traffic lights, and the first building has just gone up. It's due to open in September, and I'll come to that in a minute. But yeah, it's room for 7 buildings on there. Next slide, please. So this is the first building, the Daphne Steele building. This is named after the first Black Afro-Caribbean matron in the NHS, who's from West Yorkshire, and her son was there when we did the groundbreaking, and they are absolutely over the moon that we've recognised. It's about recognising our people as well, especially people who come from different communities, because we need the community engagement hugely to make this happen. But Daphne Steele building opens in September. It's cost £75 million, and the university's paid for that outright. It will have an anchor tenant in there of Lacala. Lacala is an organisation that is subcontracted by the NHS to deliver community services and outpatients, and they are planning to be in this building as well to deliver clinics. So Crown House, which is the horrible brown building next to it, has been purchased privately. It's a horrible building, but it's been purchased by a student residential outfit. I've seen the plans for it, and they're planning on cladding it in Yorkshire stone to be sympathetic to the campus, and it'll be really high-end student accommodation. So it shows that actually our investment is starting to impact on regeneration elsewhere in the town, so that's good. So if you move on, please, Terry. So the Daphne Steele building, I mentioned the investment zone, but it's going to be basically our School of Human and Health Sciences in there, with a Health and Wellbeing Academy, working in the communities, our research facilities, NHS clinics in there, so podiatry, the diabetes foot clinic as well from Lacala, physiotherapy, and it will have a mock residential home in there as well. I'll come to that shortly. So next one, please, Terry. So the Daphne Steele building, which is very interesting to government actually, and they're coming up on the 13th of May, it's been designed to simulate a patient's journey in a hospital. And that's unusual actually. So if you keep clicking through, you'll see that. Go on, next one, Terry. Oh, I've stripped those slides out, but it is designed to a patient's journey, and you can create model ward environments and simulation environments, and effectively almost a digital twin, a dynamic environment where you could test new tech in a hospital environment as well as the residential home as well. So we've got a lot of facilities on campus that are simulation environments for innovation and testing of tech, and that's what the government are really, really interested in. All of the buildings on campus, something that's very unique is that they're all being built to something which is the US WELL standard. So it's the institute, the International Well Building Institute, and it's hard to get the WELL standard, but it's about the environment and what that impact. So the buildings impact on the employee and people using that building. All of the buildings will be WELL standard, and they are wanting a partnership with us as well now that they realise the scale of what we're doing. But the Daphne Steele will be platinum, and it has to be reviewed every 5 years. But it is a real USP for the whole campus. So they'll all, and actually, if you ever go into a building that's WELL standard, and there's one in Liverpool which is called the Spine Building, you can actually feel it when you walk in there. So the construction conversation was really quite interesting, because more and more buildings are going to be built to this WELL standard. It's really quite strict. So there we go. So first one's platinum. Next slide, please. This is what it looks like standing at those traffic lights again on Northumberland Street, looking across. See the brown building on the right, Daphne Steel right in the middle of the building at the traffic lights. This is an image that's been generated of what it will look like. The second building is on its way, so you can see it next to Daphne Steel down the road on the right. I'm heavily involved in that one as well. That one will be 60 million. Next slide should show it you some more. Yeah, it's a bit more. We're just in wrangles with planning about brick versus stone, but that's the only thing. It's going to happen. We've got outline planning permission for the whole campus as well. This building will start in July, beginning of July. It will be finished by the middle of 25. Next slide, please. And in there will be the first community diagnostic hub in a UK university. It's going to be run by Calderdale and Huddersfield NHS Trust. It will be the whole of the ground floor of the second building, so it'll have MRI, CT, ultrasound. We are going to set up radiography degrees there, so there'll be a floor around that. Dentistry as well, but the top floor is going to be a health and wellbeing innovation centre, and I've secured UK Share Prosperity Fund money to fit that out. There will be a spoke of that in Pinderfields Hospital in Wakefield as well, and that opens in June this year. And we're modelling the innovation pop-up that Leeds Teaching Hospital have in there, and we're signing that charter there as well. But we will have industry, public sector and third sector co-located partners in there. So it's a massive undertaking. So that's the second building. I'm nearly there, nearly finished, Terry. Keep going. This is just a plan of what that top floor innovation centre looks like. It's going to be run by the 3MBIC, but it'll be 3MBIC Health. So it'll have tech, it'll have access to tech, just like, but medical health related tech, labs, offices, usual stuff that you get in the innovation centres to support businesses. Next slide, please. Yeah, these are the partners in that bid, which we got 3.8 million. 2.9 of that was capital. The rest is revenue. But you can see we've got Health Innovation Yorkshire and Humber partners in it, Mid Yorkshire NHS Teaching Trust, Calderdale and Huddersfield, Kirklees Council, and third sector leaders. Next slide, please. And I think these are 2 slides about the UK SPF. Keep going. Yeah, this is what's in there. I've already mentioned this sort of thing. So there'll be a maker space in there, events, multi-screen visualization capability. I want to use data to drive collaborations across that ecosystem, because people are collecting data all over the place for different purposes around particular health challenges. And I really believe if it's facilitated properly, data can be used to drive collaboration, and that's what we're going to do with the big visualization capability in there. Next slide. So as part of the revenue side of the grant, we have a network. There is a website with all this on, events program, and we've got so much interest in the network, the grants, the mentoring pool that we've got. We're doing hackathons as well for startups. If you're interested in any grants, they could be around access to technology, proof of concept, wellbeing plans, just let me know. We've got the maker space. There's also 6 packages for soft landing for businesses who want to come into the region as well. So if you know anybody, or there's anybody who's up for coming in, then let us know, we can facilitate that. Next slide, please. yeah, we are right at the end now. And I have my plans for building 3, the next one. So I never stop. My brain never switches off. This will be, and this has really shaken a lot of people up in terms of the innovative nature of this one. If we can make it happen, it's about it being a catalytic community centre at the heart of the campus. It will have a 24/7 health centre in there. So we've got 2 GPs surgeries talking to us at the moment, community pharmacy. Lacala want to bring in a community training academy. We'll have an impact practice centre, which is based on Massachusetts general approach. Creative health is really, really important. It sort of feeds into the sort of the stuff Michael was saying earlier, but it's preventative more than solving people's problems. You know, when they've become sick, we need to look at preventative activities and how we can use creative health in a social prescribing way. And then that's it. That's the end of it. So there you go. That's us. Big thing. Can't hear you, Terry.
You're on mute, those immortal words. Everyone's turned their cameras on. So could you at least turn your cameras back on so that we can all say thank you to Liz for sharing that amazing, well, not vision, it's a reality now, isn't it? But it's becoming more of a reality. So does anyone have any questions or anything they want to share or comment upon?
I have a question, Terry, if there's no one else jumping in. I've sort of been following this project for a while because I've lived in Huddersfield a long time. And you mentioned, I've lost you now, Liz. Oh, you're there. You mentioned that there's going to be like incubation spaces. Is that going to be linking with courses in the university then, in order to bring? Because something I experienced when I left university was you have all these great ideas and all this training, and then not much to help you kind of get those ideas off the ground. So is that part of the idea there to sort of build a bit of a link with those courses and those innovators?
Well, that's already happening. When did you say you left, Michael?
Some time ago. I graduated in 2004.
Right. Well, when I came in 2009, I took over something called the Business Mine. And it's now the Enterprise Hub. It's in the 3M BIC, actually.
Yeah.
But it's a team of business advisors that give business advice support to existing students, but also graduates. And it doesn't matter when you graduated, it's free.
Right.
So you can come and hot desk in there and get that business advice from the Enterprise Hub. But it's not just linked to so that's there, and it's working really well. And we do we've just done a workshop with 25 students around health and well-being in a hackathon type environment. But what we've done linked to the campus, working with Kirklees Council to get things moving, they have in the media centre, in the glass box right on the building, they call it the glass box. They have got a health and well-being incubator, which they've got a support program working with us so that we can help people from anywhere to set their businesses up and then grow them, support them, and then they can move across into the campus.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks.
So if you're interested in any of that, let me know.
Yeah, I'll definitely be dropping you a message or an email afterwards, Liz.
If anybody's interested in anything, I think when we had the chat earlier, there's somebody. Oh, hang on.
I was going to say this. I'll share your contact details along with Michael's and Peter's to everyone. So if anyone's interested in knowing more, they can contact you direct.
So who's that from that we own, lease a building, co-working office suites at John William Street? interested
Hi,
in
good
the.
morning. Yes, Liz, it was a message that was sent earlier regarding investing in commercial buildings. It's a group of businesses that we have, and just to give context, Liz, we have met before as we're members at the 3M Buckley
Right.
Innovation Centre. But just to give some background, is I've been involved in construction, project management, and development since '94. So being a local, we actually looked at securing a site at the back of the campus 4 years ago with a private individual with a view of redeveloping it into co-working space and accommodation for students who'd be based at Huddersfield. Now, because we already provide living spaces for students, graduates, not just in Huddersfield, but throughout England, Wales, and Scotland, our business is focusing more on the commercial side. So taking listed buildings of historic value and bringing them to life. And we are looking at doing an apart hotel on a building that we secured in a pension fund that we have on John William Street across from the train station. We secured it during lockdown, but we'd be quite keen to probably have this conversation offline to see how we could utilize the offices where we're supporting entrepreneurs, particularly from the ethnic minority groups, where we're providing the space, but I think it's access to mentors, which would be quite crucial.
Oh, the mentor thing, we're just recruiting all our mentors, so we're interviewing them all as well to make sure that they're the right sort of individuals. We can connect businesses to mentors. I think we've had about 40, and we're interviewing 40 people about being mentored to a mentor pool. So please contact me outside and we'll meet up and see what we can do together. It will be great.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you so much, Liz. Thanks for the presentation. I've just got to shoot because I've got a meeting right now. Thank you, Liz. Thank you very much once again, Terry.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Right. So yes, again, thanks for that, Liz. So I'm now delighted to welcome Peter, who's our third speaker, who's also been working hard on something amazing, who's going to tell us all about that. So Peter, can I hand over to you and you can share your screen?
Thanks, Terry. Yeah, I'll just get the presentation up now. And should be this one.
Don't do this to me. Come
on. 1 second. It's choosing to not show it for a second. Okay. Hopefully this way will work. Okay.
There we are. Yes.
Now we'll just go back. Okay. Well, everyone got a brief preview of the presentation by accident, but we should be good now. So, as Terry said, my name's and I'm a product design creator of Levata, a rest for edema patients. I'm going to explain about what edema is, the background for what I've been working on, and where we're trying to move forwards in the next year or two. So problems, and I've been trying to solve healthcare related problems for the last number of years. That's really where my passion is. So the way that Levata and my business came about was that we responded to a request from a tissue viability nurse in Royal Brompton Hospital who had a range of patients with lower leg edema and didn't have suitable assisted devices to help those patients. And she came to my university looking for a student who might be interested in working on the project. That was me. I then spent the final year of my degree working on that. And after I graduated, I won the Young Innovators Award, and that sort of set me off on my journey, starting a business and trying to bring a human-centered product to market, where we're putting the needs of patients and care staff at the heart of the design process and everything we do with the product. The business is called Orchard House Designs. The product is called Levata. The business is called that because there was a day when my accountants phoned me up and said, Peter, we have to register this business right now and we need a name. And I panicked and I was sat in the back room of my parents' house, which is called Orchard House. And I thought, this will do. And so it was a nice simple name to go with. So I'll explain edema. There might be some of you who are already familiar with it, but essentially it's swelling, in this case, of the lower legs, so between the knee and the ankle, usually caused by damage to the lymphatic system, where you've got an excess of fluid that your body isn't able to reabsorb back into its system. This could be because you've had cancer treatment, you may have had major surgery, you may have given birth, and all kinds of things can lead to edema, and it's often a secondary cause of a more serious condition. But it has a massive impact on quality of life. And so over 250,000 people currently have edema in the UK. And unfortunately, that's projected to rise to over 320,000 by the year 2040, which is quite a drastic increase. Of those, well over 100,000 have lower leg edema. This is actually a broader trend within the UK, where now more than 50% of GP appointments are related to chronic conditions. Healthcare is built around a model of you get a disease or an illness and we're able to treat it and you go back to full health. And unfortunately, at least in the UK, this is becoming a rarer and rarer model for how healthcare staff actually interact with their patients. It's much more about managing long-term conditions that can't necessarily be fully treated. Assistive devices are a big part of how we manage and cope with those chronic conditions, enabling people and patients to take control and the management of their condition to provide them independence and try and increase the quality of their life. So people who have edema are often very susceptible to pressure ulcers. Pressure ulcers are both painful and also have a drastic impact on quality of life for the patient themselves. But at a national level, they're incredibly expensive to treat. So the UK spends between 1.5 and 2.1 billion pounds every year trying to treat pressure ulcers, which equates to 4% of the total NHS expenditure, which is really, really high. Especially when you consider that makes it the third most costly disease in the UK after cancer and cardiovascular disease. So it's a major problem that often goes unseen, but I'm trying to make it more of a focus, and this is sort of something that my product is revolving around. Treating each individual pressure ulcer, as I said, is very expensive, but particularly we want to focus on preventative care, as the other speakers have already mentioned this morning. It's really where the focus should be moving forwards. One of the reasons why prevention is so important is treatment is expensive. And so if we can spend a little bit of money up front preventing, we can save a huge amount more money down the line that we would have had to spend on treatment. And a really good visualization of this is that if a patient gets a pressure ulcer and it's a category 1, so it's a low risk pressure ulcer, you're only looking at about just over £1,000 to try and treat. But if it carries on and gets worse, you're looking at well over £14,000 in treatment for a single category 4 pressure ulcer for one patient. This is really drastic when you've got hundreds of thousands of pressure ulcers in the UK every year. And that's what we're trying to focus on and shift the perspective where it might be if you're managing a hospital or a care home or a hospice where, you know, someone like me comes along and says, look, I'd really like you to spend more money on your footrests every year. And they say, well, we can't afford to. I want to start outlining that actually, not only can you afford to, this is going to be profitable and save you a lot of money from the point of view of treating people, both in the short and long term. And the way that they're going to see this, hopefully, is that treating pressure ulcers is incredibly dependent on care staff time. So care staff will spend a lot of time changing dressings and cleaning wounds of pressure ulcers, resulting in 90% of the cost of treatment of pressure ulcers being just in the care staff time. So if we can make even a marginal difference to how much time a member of staff has to spend with each patient, we can drastically reduce the overall spending for this sort of treatment. And that would also play into the fact that care staff have a lot on at the moment. There's a massive shortage in the care industry of qualified, experienced carers. And so it's really important that we don't add extra issues and extra difficulties that the care staff have to manage, along with focusing on treating patients. A good example of this is that current assistive devices are actually very poorly designed. This frustrates me greatly as a designer, because I think that there are lots of assistive devices that are quite simple and yet work very poorly. So a good example is footrests, where the industry that I'm working in, footrests currently are very cheap. They use very low quality materials and have actually been found to worsen or at least maintain the conditions that patients are in. So instead of preventing pressure ulcers, they've been known to cause pressure ulcers. Instead of reducing incidences of edema, they've enabled it to get worse, leading to this overall statistic in the UK that 70% of people will abandon their assistive devices. And this is particularly drastic, I think, because as a nation and then as local healthcare authorities, we spend money developing and paying for assistive devices that we then provide to patients and care staff and hospitals. Those devices are then not fit for purpose or have very short product lifespans. They get abandoned very quickly, particularly by outpatients who are trying to manage the condition themselves in their own homes. The conditions of the patients get worse, and then we have to spend more money treating the patients now that they're in a worse condition than they were. And this is all feeding into my philosophy of we're going to try and spend a little bit more investing in high quality human-centered devices in the first instance, so we can deliver much better healthcare outcomes long term. And this is all focused around using high quality materials, making the products appealing, having something that suits your home. And this is actually all feeding back into what Michael was saying about it has to feel like a device that you want to interact with, not that's been sort of forced upon you, or that looks very impersonal and very medical, because no one wants to have their condition medicalized, especially if it's going to be something that they live with long term. As I was last couple of years doing my research, we've pulled out some key requirements for this kind of a device and split them into two broad categories. The categories that clinicians really focus on, and then the categories that you might say the end users are really focused on. So clinicians need a footrest that provides bilateral support, really high quality pressure relief so that we don't get incidents of pressure ulcers, and adjustable height and angle. The reason for that last one is because all different kinds of people get edema and pressure ulcers. It's not just one body size or shape, and you might be sat in very different sort of chairs or sofas or hospital wards. And so making a device that can suit everybody is incredibly important. And then what do people care about if you're going to ask them to have it in their living room or in their care home environment? Well, it needs to be lightweight, it needs to be durable and last a long time. Ideally, it'd be collapsible so it doesn't take up a lot of room. And the price, though, the price that everyone cares about is making it affordable so that we're not charging huge amounts of money for every single device. So far, I've done a lot of collaboration in order to bring a product like this to market. That means engaging with the health and innovation ecosystem around me, both in Manchester with the Print City Network and further afield with the Academic Health Science Network, the AMRC, the Advanced Manufacturing Research Centre based up in Preston, but also Innovate UK and their Design for Growth programs. All this has really fed into both my personal knowledge, but there's been some very practical outcomes, working with Print City and the AMRC. I've been able to develop prototypes and jump the product development forwards very quickly. I'm guessing that Michael's going to know that designing and making a product from scratch is an incredibly slow and difficult process. Takes a lot of money, and it also takes a lot of failure. Doing it all by yourself is, I would say, not wise. And so if you can reach out to people to collaborate with, it's extremely worthwhile. That doesn't mean that every collaboration is always perfect, but you learn a huge amount and you get to gain from other people's insight and their connections, which is very important when you're starting out. So a reasonable question someone might ask is, how is this possible? I'm relatively young still, and so the way that I was able to start a business producing a hardware product was that after my degree, I won the Young Innovators Award from Innovate UK, which provided an initial amount of money to get the business started and sort of get the idea off the ground. And on the back of that, I won the Fast Start Innovation Grant, which provided a larger sum of money over a short period of time, sort of 6 months, to really fast track the development. And then for the last 5 months or so, I've been on the Unlocking Potential Grant, which is another Innovate UK award that will run to November this year. And all of these combined have, well, I've been very fortunate that I've been able to win them. I should say that although there are 3 awards on here, there's about 15 applications you can't see that were unsuccessful, because it takes a huge amount of trial and error applying for grants like this and applying for awards. But I would say it's very worthwhile. Grant funding has literally allowed me to do this for the last couple of years. It's really been essential. And particularly these grants that I've listed here, they've got a real cohort around them. And so you're able to learn from other people who have won the awards and also from the innovation growth specialists that Innovate UK provides as essentially mentoring to guide you on that journey. It's really, really fantastic support that I've had, that's carried through from the very beginning in 2021. So on the right-hand side, you can see Lavata, the forest that I've been developing. As I was mentioning before, we're focused on very natural materials, lots of wood. The reason for this is because it's very tempting to choose cheap materials, so plastics and grey aluminium. The reason that we've not done that is because those materials look cold and unappealing and unhuman. And when talking to healthcare staff, a key aspect of any assistive device is that we want you to use it a lot and we want you to be comfortable with it. The only way that I can think of making that happen is to make this look like something that lives in your home with you, that looks like a piece of furniture. Conveniently, I actually have a background in furniture making at quite a high end and furniture design. And so I've tried to bring those skills into the product. And so we're using things like really high specification memory foam in all of the cushions. There's actually a fabric mesh hammock that sits under each cushion so that instead of crushing a really nice cushion against the board and your leg, it's actually supported by a flexible fabric. And so the cushion can breathe and move below the pressure. All of the parts are interchangeable and can be replaced, and it's highly adjustable with no fiddly mechanisms. You literally just lift it to the position you want and it locks in place and stays there. There's 2 release handles and it collapses back down to a very small footprint. The goal that I have for the rest of the year is that we're launching this product at the Care Show in Birmingham at the NEC in October, which is now doesn't feel very far away. So that's going to be exciting getting to that deadline. And the long-term goal is to license the design to a large medical furniture manufacturer in the UK. The logic for that is that the priority is to get a device like this to the staff and the patients who need it most. It's not necessarily to build my capabilities in the business out to sell hundreds of units directly, because that's very difficult to do, particularly with the barriers to entry for care homes and hospitals. If there are already established businesses that have those routes into market and have those supplier connections, I think it's worthwhile using those so that you can get the product where it needs to be as efficiently as possible. Thank you very much for listening. If you've got any questions, I'm sure Terry's going to ask. And please feel free to contact me. I'm on LinkedIn and I've got my email on screen. Happy to chat about anything medical, product design, all of this entrepreneur stuff related. So thank you very much, everyone.
That's fabulous. Thanks for that, Peter. I'll just there we go. And I'll just get rid of the spotlight. There we are. So yes, if we could show our appreciation for that. Thanks, Peter. Anyone have any comments or questions or anything they'd like to know more about, or anything really? See, we're all just taking it all in and trying to figure out what it all means.
Yeah, I'm sure.
As I said, I'll make sure. Yes, indeed, Chantel. Just we'll do a little plug for Innovate UK. That
Yes.
they've supported that, and it's good to see, and good to see they're supporting real world developments for quite widespread issues that a lot of people wouldn't probably be aware of.
Yeah, and I should point out that Innovate UK funding and support has made very tangible differences to my business. It isn't all sort of fluffy language. It really translates into proper development and business growth. And so that's really important to highlight and to thank the Innovate people on the call, especially David. David in the bottom is my business growth advisor and has been fantastic for me for the last couple of years.
Thanks, Peter. Okay, well, we leave it there. But as I mentioned, I'll include your contact details in the email I send out. And if anyone wants to know more about Peter's work or contribute in some way or just connect, I'm sure you'd love to hear from you.
Yeah.
Fab. So thank you to our three main speakers for sharing their stories, their achievements, their visions. There's a couple of people who now want to do a short pitch, 2 minutes, to tell us a bit about who they are and what they do, and maybe ask something or whatever. It's up to them. So we've got Tim. I think you were wanting to do that. Is that right? So I'll just make you big on the screen. There we go.
I don't remember doing that, but I'm happy to pitch again.
Oh, really? Well, I'm pretty sure you did, but whatever. So yeah, just tell us a bit more. I mean, we've heard anyway, but 2 minutes on who you are and what you do.
Yeah, so I'm Tim Wayne. I'm co-founder of BioStress. At BioStress, we use biometric data to objectively measure workplace stress. So we believe we've created what we think is the world's most accurate measure of stress using a mixture of physiological and psychological data. We built that into a whole end-to-end stress management program where we first benchmark employees. So targeting workplaces, benchmark employees for 7 days. After that 7 days, we play them back their own unique insights into their stress resilience, so how quickly they recover after a stress event, their sleep and their activity. We then recommend improvement programs that they can do to make a difference. So that might be around stress management, it might be around sleep, it might be around activity. And then we remeasure people every 3 months or every 6 months to understand the impact of the change that we've made. And at the end of that, we were able to also anonymize and aggregate the data. So the organization has, for the first time, an objective view of workplace stress and can then really start to understand, well, how does stress actually impact on sickness absence, staff turnover, the well-being of their teams, and what are the things that they can do themselves as an organization to reduce the burden and obviously kind of deliver that improvement in productivity and a return on investment. We've been working with organisations from the likes of Aberdeen Asset Management, 2 UK police forces. Construction seems to be really kind of picking up the mantle in terms of this. So a couple of construction firms, and yeah, really kind of at the point where we're really scaling the business now. And if anybody's interested, we are looking for investment. So if anybody's kind of got some spare cash, we're more than open to investment ideas.
Fab. Thanks for that, Tim. And with those of you who do the pitch, I'll share your contact details as well. So if you didn't manage to connect with Tim today, you'll get his details probably on Monday. Oh, James, I think yes, shall I put you on? There we go. Put you on the big screen.
Thank you very much. I'm James Wilson. I'm also another sleep geek. I'm the founder of Kitmate, and we are trying to help the world sleep better. We do this by starting people at the start. We help them understand what it is that's stopping them sleeping. And with partners and through our own endeavours, we look to point people in the right direction of what their sleep issue might be. It could be behavioural, could be clinical, or it could be something around a product. I lead a team of experts, so we have a sleep clinician, respiratory and neurological sleep disorders. We've got baby and kids sleep experts. We've got a sleep nutritionist. We've got a chronobiologist, and we've also got Britain's only sleep vet. If your pet is a thing that is stopping you sleeping, we work in corporates, with corporate sports teams, and with individuals. So some of our customers involve people like Marks and Spencers. We work with TK Maxx, AB World Foods, a couple of governments in the UAE and the Isle of Man. In sports, we've worked with Sheffield United, we've worked with Rotherham United, West Ham United last season. If you are a football fan, you'll be aware they won their first trophy in 43 years, and it was all down to the amazing sleep they got because of us. And prior to the FA Cup semi-final this weekend, I was working with Coventry City last week, and I thought that I was going to have another success on my hands until somebody's toe ruined that for me. We offer corporate and wellbeing, so webinars, seminars, drop-in sessions. We have an app, Sort Your Kip. We do training. We're working with Future Fit, who are the biggest trainer of PTs in the country. We develop products with our partners at Mattress Online, and we have a clinic, Kip Clinic, that's designed to help you sleep better. And also with products, as a sleep geek, I do a lot of TV work. I'm a healthy skeptic when it comes to some of the answers that are offered around sleep in the wellbeing sector, and we have a certification scheme, so probably a little bit like Which or Good Housekeeping, where I certify products that are designed to help people sleep better. Although unlike Which and Good Housekeeping, we are actually sleep experts, so when we say it's good, it generally is. Like Tim, I'm also looking for investments. If anyone fancies getting on board with helping the world sleep better, please drop me a line.
Fab. Thanks for that, James from Kitmate. And then John, John, sorry, yes. I'm looking around the screen. This, fine, John. So are you still wanting to do your short pitch, John? Is that all right?
No, I can't today, Terry.
All right. Next time, perhaps.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. And now I'm just going to hand over to Bev, who is, so this event is kind of part of the West Yorkshire Combined Authority Supply Chain Programme, and Bev is part of that team. So just wants to tell you a little bit more about that. So Bev, do you want to, there we go.
Yeah, just give me one sec. Hi, everybody. My slideshow gone.
There we go. Yeah, that looks fine.
There we go. Does everybody see that? Yeah. Thanks, Terry. Yeah, my name's Bev Foster. I work for RTC alongside Chantel and other colleagues who are on the call. I work specifically on the supply chain project, which Terry just said is funded by West Yorkshire Combined Authority, specifically for businesses across West Yorkshire. It's a very new programme, and it's a 12-month programme, so we're really keen to make sure it's a success, so we get funding for future programmes, and some of the interesting stuff that Liz was saying around the kind of infrastructure investments that are going on just in sort of Kirklees, Huddersfield. It's that sort of intel we're looking for to help our supply chains. So just a little bit about our the challenges, I guess. Oh, sorry, no. I'll just go back to ourselves, RTC programmes, and great for Peter to give us a shout there, because I think we do some fantastic work. But we cover business innovation, and probably one of the only business support organisations out there that actually look at skills as well. So supply chain, SME challenges and services, I should say. We know you've got issues in accessing new markets, kind of understanding procurement rules. I know that can be very, 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 very tricky, as well as kind of applying for public sector funding sometimes as well. Ensuring that your workforce is ready for growth, and you've got the workforce of the future to meet, future supply chain opportunities. improvement activity to meet buyer needs and quality assurance processes. And I'll talk a little bit more about how we've been able to help some businesses implement certainly ISO 9001, and digital transformation as well, making sure that your processes and your systems are efficient and effective. As part of the programme, we're also working with a number of large enterprises to find out what their supply chain challenges are, and more importantly, are they using a local supply chain, and if not, why not? Have we not got the skills? Is our supply chain not ready? We're working with yes, just kind of understand what those strengths are across our potential supply chain, and how we can feed that into some of those large enterprises and the opportunities there. Supply chain futures, I mentioned skills, and I worked with the trade and investment team at the West Yorkshire Combined Authority a few years ago on inward investment. And every inward investment inquiry that comes in asks, apart from wanting funding, asks for two things: where do I find my talent, and where do I find my supply chain? So really, we're kind of working with our partners to make sure that we understand what the opportunities are that are coming into the region, but also, is our local education system fit for purpose in terms of what the future careers might look like? We do have a STEM ambassador programme, which I'll briefly touch on as well, if you're a manufacturer and you want to get involved, not just a manufacturer. So this is just a visual really of what we're doing, working with local authorities, the combined authority, large businesses, education, like I say, working with our certainly high school and FE to make sure that we've got what's actually being taught is required in the region. And our objectives, it's just kind of does what it says on the tin. We aim to support West Yorkshire SMEs by boosting job creation, that connection of understanding what's out there. My previous role was with Bradford Council, and I think we kind of feel that, you know, there's not a lot of investment going on in the north, certainly across Bradford and the district. There's some amazing infrastructure investments that are going on, such as sort of City Village, new rail station, Southern Gateway. It's kind of understanding who those developers are and who they're using to actually, you know, get these programmes off the ground. And we've been talking to local authorities about what are the short, medium and long-term opportunities for supply chain. I should point out as well, it's not just about manufacturers. Our programme does cover all sectors. We're particularly interested in sort of medtech and life sciences, so this is really, really helpful for us. Very brief, I know, like I say, it's a very simple programme. We do have a small grant programme that, grant pot that we have. It's going quickly. It's been used for, I've mentioned quality systems, helping a business implement ISO 9001 or others. Marketing strategy we can help with. What we also want to do as well with this programme is add value. So we don't just work with you on supply chain. You might have other issues in terms of, you know, where do I find an apprentice? How do I digitally transform my business? We're kind of tapped into not just what RTC can offer you, but what certainly across as a West Yorkshire business, you can tap into both nationally and locally. So please just give me a ring, give me a shout if you want to talk further. I'll put my contact details in the chat. Just a plea, like I said, we are a public sector funded organisation, and we do need to kind of show that we've at least reached out to some people. If you've had a registration form and you're a West Yorkshire business, I'd be really grateful if you could sign that and return it back to us. That'd be really helpful. Thank you.
That's great. Thanks, Bev. I'll just there we go. Yes, we don't love forms any more than you do. Honest, we really don't. But it's the only way we can carry on doing these things. So yeah, it would be really good if you get that information back to us. Right, I'm just going to show a quick few things, just mention a quick few things that are going on, might be of interest, and then it's just about lunchtime, I think. So I'll just share my screen again. So where is it? There we go. As I said at the beginning, that's our kind of aim, if you like, and our mantra, and because of that. And so hopefully today we've learned something, we've discovered some new things, certainly been inspired. And our role, or my role within the kind of the Design Network North ecosystem, if you like, is to support that network of which you are now all a part, whether you're a designer or not. It's about encouraging collaboration through things like this, where, you know, I think everyone's brilliant at different things, but often when you get two brilliant people together, they can be even more brilliant than they thought possible. And that's really what comes from collaborating, which is why we are such a big fan of it. It's about giving assistance as well, so through the things like the Bev as mentioned, but also through the other programs that we run and offer, or sometimes just, you know, it's just dropping me an email to ask about some advice on something, or you want to connect with something. So we're always here if you need any help with anything. Usually my kind of position is we'll just ask, and if we don't know, we'll try and find someone who does know. It's about sharing knowledge through things like this. But if you've got some great knowledge you want to share, then you know, let us know, and we could. Quite often these events come about because we've been asked to, or from a conversation with someone, and we think, yeah, actually, let's put something on around that, and we build a whole event around it. So if you've got something in particular you want to share, then let me know. And it's about raising the profile as well of design, the importance of design, but also helping you to raise your profile a little bit as well. So if that's something you think we could help with, then do let me know. So one of the ways that we do that collaboration thing is through events like this, Rise and Design, which we do every month, sometimes in the Northeast, sometimes in this area, and who knows, other places as well, perhaps. So yeah, we were hoping, or I was hoping to be in Huddersfield today, but I think this has been almost as good. Next month, no, not next month, in June, we'll be in Gateshead looking at issues around the built environment. Not so much the construction side, but some of the softer issues around, you know, what do buildings need to be, and what things should be incorporated to make those places good places to live and work. And then in June, we're back in Leeds. We haven't decided yet. So if you've got some ideas, or as I said, there's something you want to share, then let me know, and we could perhaps build it around that. But the main thing is to get involved. That's what it's all about. So if you want to get involved, then talk to me about how, and I'm sure we can help you to do that. There's information on the website. So today's event has been live streamed, so it will appear at the bottom there at some point. And then the other events that are coming up, that one with the huge dinosaur was one that we had last week, so I need to take that off. But please do pay a visit to the website. All the information's on there about stuff that we're doing and what's coming up. That's it, designnetworknorth.org. And then just finally, a couple of things that are happening. So this is the Łódź Design Festival in Poland, which is happening next month. The reason I'm highlighting that is that I'm going to be there. I was there last year delivering some Lego Serious Play workshops, but also at the festival. It's fantastic, and it's very easy to get to. And a brilliant place. So it's on all week. I'm going there to do some workshops there, but also having a good look round at some of the exhibits. If you fancy a few days in Poland, I could really, really heartily recommend it. So if you want to know any more about that, just drop me a line afterwards and I can tell you a bit more about it, and hopefully encourage you to go. And you never know, we might be able to travel together. And then something else that's coming up in July is the Northumbrian Water Innovation Festival. I know it's a bit of a trek up in Newcastle for some of you, but it'd be well worth it. So the Northumbrian Water have been doing this for the last 6 or 7 years, I think. So basically they take over Newcastle Racecourse for a week, and they have design sprints and hackathons and all sorts of stuff going on, as well as some comedy shows and some live music, and it's brilliant. It's kind of a Glastonbury of innovation, is how I like to describe it. It's free to attend. You just turn up, but it's good if you register first so they know who's going to be there. And it's about everything to do with the water industry. So whether that's plugging leaks or managing pipelines or helping people with their bills or all sorts of things. So if you're interested in innovation, it would be really worth making the trip. So with all of these things, I'll send you more information on Monday as well, so you can find out a bit more about that. And then we started a podcast about last summer called Northern Spotlights. For some reason, they thought I'd be a good host for it. And we've been finding out whether or not that is true over the last few months, but I've certainly enjoyed it. So it's basically me in conversation with some amazing people, just telling their story, a bit like what we've had today, but on a much more kind of extended version of that. So we've had, so bottom right there, that's Angela McCosker, who actually heads up the Innovation Festival for Northumbrian Water. On the top left, there's a good friend of mine, Ian Farrer, who's a business mentor, but he's got a long and illustrious career in all sorts of things. And we've had various other people, including Andy Haddon, who runs the Big River Bakery in Newcastle, Joanna Feely, who's from Trent Bible, again in Newcastle, and they're really good. I mean, I would say that, but they are genuinely really good. And also in next month, I'll be Liz, who we've heard from this morning, will be joining me to film the next episode, which will probably be going live after the summer. So they're on YouTube and also on Spotify if you want to listen in the car. But yeah, I can heartily recommend them, but hopefully other people could also heartily recommend them as well, because of course I would. And that's it from me. I'm going to stop sharing and remove the spotlight. So thank you for joining us this morning. Sorry we weren't in Huddersfield. I would have loved to have been, but there you go. And yeah, thanks particularly to Liz and Peter and Michael for sharing their stories with us, and for everyone for joining us. And it's lunchtime, so have a great lunch, have a great Friday, have a great weekend, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thanks, Terry. Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Good to
you.
see you.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah,
Have a good day.
thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.